she'll be grumpy.
You're gonna get beat tonight.
Probably.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mikey.
And I'm Tyler.
And we are Deep Red Pictures.
So today we are going to be doing a review for the new film Maxxxine. Now this is going to be a spoiler-free review since the movie came out this weekend, but we each had a chance to see it, so we're just going to be kind of sharing our thoughts and opinions, primarily like our pros and cons and everything in between. So Mikey, you want to start off with what you liked about the movie?
Yeah, so my positives, I have three really big ones. I think that Maxxxine, out of like all three movies, that movie is oozing, like just absolutely oozing with style.
Yeah.
I love the way that it's shot, like frame for frame, it is perfect. I have, it's not that I've not been like a fan of Mia Goth's performances or anything like that, but like to me, like I kind of have thought that like maybe people are blowing her level of talent out of proportion. Yeah. But from like that opening like monologue, like immediately sold. This was her best performance in this trilogy for me, at least.
Yeah.
And then my last real big positive is Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon, every scene he was in was so good.
Yeah. He was like the true like Louisiana like trashy PI.
Just pure scumbag.
I loved it.
Bacon so good. So good.
It was. Yeah, so for me, same thing, oozed with style. I don't know if I would deem this my favorite. I need to watch it probably like one or two more times before I really can give that answer. What is good is that all three of these movies in this trilogy of, X, Pearl, and Maxxxine, they're all very different movies. Ty West did not play it safe with like finding like a certain formula and just running with it, because I feel like if he had done that by the third movie, it would have been stale. Since you had like the first one that was, very heavily inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre, then you had the second one that he said was inspired by Wizard of Oz, and then you got this one that's just like an old school like murder mystery, and just everything about it, from like the music to I've thought Mia Goth were great in all these movies, but in this one I feel like she was really able to stretch her acting beyond just like like the kind of trashy like character that she was in X, but also not like the like weird homely psycho in Pearl. Yeah, she was actually able to like give a little bit more lore and depth to her characters. And of course Kevin Bacon stole every scene he was in.
He really did.
He just like, even the scenes where we weren't supposed to be laughing, I was laughing just because I'm like, whenever he's in something, even if that thing is bad, I always love him in it. Yeah. But those are pretty much my biggest pros when it came to the movie. So what did you not necessarily care for in the movie?
So I don't have really many negatives to talk about with Maxxxine. Like it's mostly just very nitpicky stuff. To me, this was my favorite movie out of this trilogy, so it nears perfection in my opinion. But if I was nitpicking, I would say I think like characters like Kevin Bacon's character and Bobby Cavanaugh's character were not given enough screen time. But again, like I think that like also is in the movie's favor, because I think every scene that they were in, they were very, very clearly like standing out
for a reason.
Yeah. My next negative, I guess, would be kind of like the bait and switchy advertisements and stuff like that. Like I don't mind that we didn't get like a whole like Richard Ramirez thing or anything like that, but like I think like if you're gonna have a serial killer like trying to like lay low and basically try to copy another serial killer to stay hidden, that maybe there should have been like something of it, like a kind of more mention of Richard Ramirez, or because it just, to me, like coming in and having like created your own serial killer and stuff, like it works, absolutely works for the movie. But why not just market it that way?
Yeah.
Like it's not like you're telling who the killer is or anything like that. It's just
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. My only real nitpick with the movie is that I feel like when it came to the tone, it didn't really know what it wanted to be. Like, I couldn't tell if it wanted to be like a straight up murder mystery. I didn't know if it was trying to be like a black comedy. I thought when I saw the like advertisements, I thought what they were going to do was kind of like a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sort of thing.
Yep.
Where it's like they sort of rewrite history and incorporate the Night Stalker into like the series of murders.
That's kind of what I thought was gonna happen.
But I feel like it was more just like an added element, like a detail to kind of flesh out the 1980s Los Angeles, you know. And I don't know, I'm glad that they didn't necessarily like try to do it in a route to where like, oh, you know, we're gonna rewrite history that Richard Ramirez was, you know, the central killer, and you know, try to do it that way, because I feel like that would have been kind of like cheesy and not really. It's not like Quentin Tarantino where he can make a movie and rewrite history and it's entertaining enough to where you can believe it. But overall, I mean, besides like the weird kind of like waves of like different tone, like I said, didn't know if I wanted to be a murder mystery. Sometimes I got like elements of like a black comedy almost, and they tried to, I think, keep some kind of slasher elements that were more prominent in X and Pearl, but they primarily, I noticed, kind of distanced themselves from that. But they just kept like certain elements. But beyond that, I didn't really have anything particular that I like hated about the movie at all.
No, I think it was like I've seen other like reviewers and stuff like that say that it does feel like this movie played it safe in a lot of ways, and I do agree with that. But the era that it's kind of supposed to be based in, like, there's only so much you can really do, I think, with like that kind of era, like in terms of like how far you're gonna take like the violence and stuff, like because like in the 80s, like there wasn't necessarily like a whole hell of a lot of censorship when it came to like, you know, like partying and stuff like that in movies, but there was a lot of censorship when it came to like horror and stuff. If you look at the Friday the 13th franchise, there were a lot of things that they were trying to do with a lot of their movies in like the mid to late 80s that they weren't able to do because it would push their rating to like NC-17 or
they were very sensitive.
Yeah, so like it kind of makes sense to me that a lot of this felt very like, I guess, kind of sterilized, because both movies prior also feel like movies appropriately from the era that they're set in.
Yeah, it's and going back to, you know, the whole bait and switch thing, is like they got like a cast of like actually like an interesting cast of actors to be in it, but I think that they kind of marketed it as more of like a whodunit, and then as the film progresses, you get what they're doing, and that they were just more to play into that aspect of whodunit.
Yeah.
I actually saw a tweet that said Maxxxine is a whodunit in the same way that Blue's Clues is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, after watching it, that makes sense. But I see how like even though like I can tell like you and I overall feel the same way about it, I can see how this wouldn't work for some people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is going to be a weird comparison, but this trilogy reminds me, reception-wise, of the Dark Knight trilogy. Whereas you have the first movie that was like a sudden hit that no one really expected too much out of.
Yeah, nobody really saw it coming.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had the second, like a follow-up that a lot of people deem a superior chapter. And then you have like the very divisive third one.
Yeah. Where
it's like, I think that like 5 years from now, people who don't like this movie or didn't care too much are really going to come around to it. And like when they do like a 3-movie rewatch, they're going to be like, oh, I actually really love this.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's the thing, when like you don't like a movie or you don't know how to feel about it, when you're able to go back and rewatch it through the lens of like, now I know what this is, sometimes you can find more things to appreciate about it.
Yeah, and I think Maxxxine has probably, like, you know, in my opinion at least, the most rewatchability out of,
Yeah.
just because
I can
of
see
how
that.
like kind of sterilized it is. Like it doesn't feel like, you know, like when you watch X is one of those movies that like you kind of feel dirty after you watch. And so like I personally, I think I've only watched it like 3 times, where I've seen Pearl like maybe 4 or 5. um in this, I can see being even that cleaner watch. Like I don't feel like I'm gonna sit there and be like, okay, I need a smoke after that. Like it's kind of just like, that was a fun 80s movie, you know, with some gore and violence, but not necessarily pushing it the way that at I mean, X definitely did. Pearl obviously isn't really that kind of story either, but
It was, at first when I watched it, I felt violence wise that it was overall very tame.
yeah.
And then I kind of like looked back at like Pearl, where I was like, Pearl was actually kind of tame in its own way too. Like it had its very violent. When it was violent, it was violent.
Oh yeah.
I think X was overall the most graphic of all of them.
Maxxine was the least in my
But
opinion.
yeah, like I said, they leaned heavy on just the murder mystery,
Yeah.
rather than, you know, overall. Like, I mean, the alleyway scene made me like cover my face. So
Yeah.
when you watch the movie, if you haven't already, you'll know what scene I'm talking about. That one, I was like, ooh.
Yep. But overall, I really enjoyed the movie. And so we're gonna do something kind of new. We've never really reviewed anything, so I guess we're gonna rank this one out of 10. So my rating for Maxxine out of 10 is a 9.5. I really enjoyed this movie. I've always been a really big fan of action films set in the 80s and film noir, and to me this it has like a little bit of everything that I really enjoy. It's probably one of my favorite movies that's come out in like recent years. I really, really enjoyed this. There were absolutely things that didn't work, but with how much fun the movie is and just how much style it has and stuff, it was very easy to look past all of that for me, at least.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with like a 9 out of 10, which is essentially how like I felt for both like X and Pearl, and then each time I watch it, I love it more and more, and
Yep.
they became 10s, and I'm sure after I watch this a couple more times, it'll be up there. I mean, I just think that Ty West did such a good job with
Yeah.
this trilogy, and I'm really happy that A24 gave him the chance, because obviously he took his time to actually outline what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't have been able to write these scripts that fast. I mean, he was able to secretly film Pearl during a pandemic and write in the story in such a way where he didn't need a large cast. He didn't need to be around too many people.
Yeah.
And everyone could wear face masks, since that took place during, what was it, like the Spanish flu?
Yeah.
Something like that. So he was able to incorporate all that. I mean, the dude is like low-key genius with all this. And
yeah, this whole trilogy, like,
yeah,
just the different tones, the different themes and everything that they tackle in each movie, like the fact that it was such like an underground thing when it started, like the fact, like, I didn't see X coming. I don't think really anybody did. Like there was like a little bit of buzz about it, but nobody knew how big it was going to be, obviously. And so like the success of that, and then like immediately getting that, like, we have a sequel like soon.
Yeah.
Like it just, like the momentum that they were able to push from doing it that way too, like all around, the way that they handled the release, the writing, directing, acting, everything was just handled so perfectly for these 3 movies to really, really breathe and succeed.
Because I mean, A24 took a gamble, because like, let's say X wasn't good and it flopped, then they wouldn't have. I mean, they would have made Pearl for no real reason. Like nobody. I mean, they could have taken a gamble, released Pearl, and hoped for a better reception. But I think that the 3 different tones only worked because Ty West was the one who did all of them. Because I think that if they brought in
3 separate directors,
yeah, it would have just clashed, and it just wouldn't have worked. But he pulled it off. He's made comments about a potential 4th movie, which I wouldn't want to see that, because I think that if he leaves it as is, it'll be perfect, and it won't be kind of.
There's a perfect symmetry to the stories. Like if X is the movie that introduces Pearl and Maxxine, each movie since has given each character their time to shine.
Yeah, like I know there's like a thing online right now where people are like, oh, if they do a 4th movie, it should be like a prequel about Kevin Bacon's character, which, like, I could get behind that, but then I feel like they're gonna try and do that for like
a couple different characters.
Yeah,
from
and then like
which I don't know that necessarily that would be like a really bad thing. Like what he's done here is he's set up like a very like a grounded in reality but borderline hyper violent version of our reality. And so you kind of have that like ability to play with those characters, and they don't necessarily like each person that Maxxine encounters throughout X and Maxxine are absolutely people that I could see being involved in more nefarious and gross things. So like there are definitely stories to be told for everybody. Everybody's hands are dirty in this trilogy. But I can also agree. I think like the more you play in this universe,
I feel like
the more you're going to take away from it.
Yeah, it'll take away what will make it special, and like really all you could do at this point are like spin-offs, and at that point it's going to feel kind of like a soap opera, like a hyper violent soap opera.
True. A24's Avengers.
Yeah. In an extraordinary universe. Get it? Because Pearl.
Very good.
But guys, let us know what you think of it. If you catch Maxxine, what are your thoughts on X and Pearl? Are you looking forward to this if you haven't seen it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, please feel free to sound off in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe.
And thanks for hanging with us again.
Thank you.